Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Hashtag Leadership, What's on Your Mind. Remember, we're a podcast to make you stop and think about your leadership journey by interviewing amazing people with amazing stories and experts in their field. So if you haven't already and you're watching us on the YouTube channel, make sure you hit subscribe, or if you're listening to us on your podcast provider, make sure you hit the follow button. So today we are speaking to Gill. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Stuart. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. A very heavily linked to collaboration, and we were brought together by recommendation, which I always love, through LinkedIn, which is very much about connecting and linking together. We're going to talk about all things leadership, books, all the established author, and I can't wait to get going. So as I hit the 20-minute timer, Jill, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the people who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, apart from being a domestic goddess, I also am a business coach. I have been in business since 1988 in a product-based business. We still sell stationery today. We've also got properties and business abroad, and I also have a passion for helping people to write their stories, their books, not their novels, they're fiction, but their real life that's going to help somebody else. That's the whole purpose behind my raison d'etre, is how can we help as many people as we can on this planet. But my real passion that started as a bit of a conversation and has turned into something that's a global community is Collaboration Global. And it's that space where I can see magic happen. It's that space where I see leaders emerge. And it's that space where I see people get into action in order to help more and more people. And that lights me up, so that I feel like, yeah, that's a job well done.
Amazing. And then just from that, you can tell why we've got Jill on the podcast today. It's going to be a great conversation now. So before we forget, let's do the three questions we ask everybody. Obviously, we're hashtag leadership. What's on your mind? What comes to your mind when you hear the word leadership?
Well, there's two schools of thought. I very much look at the world in two paradigms. There's the paradigm that's currently out there of fear, scarcity, and competition. And that's where leadership is probably mostly toxic, potentially corrupt. What's in it for me? And it's like they're not really caring about their staff and the people around them. Where in my world, in the Collaboration Global world, the paradigm is love and connection and abundance. And when you have that environment, you have enlightened leadership, where the leader doesn't have to be top down. It can be an organic leadership. And that's kind of what we have in the community, where people come to the fore when something is needed. It's like, yeah, I have a specialism in that. I know how to do that. Shall we do this together? And then we carry on. So leadership going forward, and I think the pandemic has changed an awful lot of things in this world. We are now seeing emerge this enlightened leadership, where people are realizing that they have to care for their people first in order to get more things done. And I think the old school fear, scarcity, and competition paradigm doesn't fit anymore for the world that we are emerging into.
Yeah, I've said for, well, what is it, 18 months now, there's been a big shift, a bit like the technology shift with the acceptance of what we're doing now and in using the technology. It's exactly the same as the shift and nudge forward in leadership, which is fantastic to see, as well, as we know. So staying with you personally, we ask guests to reflect backwards and it's amazing. I love seeing how far back we can go with this. So where do you think your leadership journey started? So whether it's on reflection, now that we've asked you about it, or was there a light bulb moment at the time, and how far back can we push you? How far back are we going?
Two times that distinctly fit my memory is one around collaboration, which to me collaboration is leadership, because you're collaborating together and you have to take it in turns to emerge as a leader. Not necessarily the whole time. So when I emerged as a leader was when I was 4 years of age, and I saw somebody at my nursery school, and a little boy pulled a chair away from another little boy, so that when he was about to sit down. So you know that old trick, it's like someone's about to sit down, pull the chair away, and everyone laughs. And I was like, that's not nice. Why would you do that? And I basically went over and told him off. Like, why would you hurt someone? That's just not nice. And I look back at that, and that was a kind of pinnacle moment of me going, it doesn't have to be like this. Just because everybody laughed, you don't have to follow the crowd. You have to be different. And I think I was brave enough to stand up and say to him, why are you doing that? I think he thought I was crazy. And then fast forward to when I was 26 and I just had my daughter. So I was a brand new mum and I thought I could do anything because I have just produced another human being. How clever am I? I've just had a miracle here all on my own. I'm a very clever woman. And then I was at a meeting at our local church. And a lady who I'd never met, who was 30 years my senior, sat down and within 3 minutes pointed to me, stopped the whole room talking and said, "That's a leader over there. That woman over there is a leader." I'm like, no, not me. No, I can't. Although I felt empowered by this new miracle that I'd had, when somebody else pointed it out to me, I was very defensive because my upbringing had been be seen and not heard. So I was used to not being that sort of front person. And then probably fast forward to 2012, and somebody else said to me, "It's time you stepped up." And that was the name of my coaching company, Steps to Success. And I'm like, yes, you're damn right. Now is the time. And I can't, when I see injustice, when I see inequality, when I see anything that's not right, as a 16-year-old, I yelled at 2 men fighting in the street to stop them. And they stopped fighting because they were so shocked that this young girl would be yelling at them to stop fighting. So it's different times throughout my life I can see, and I do believe that people have it within them, but it can also be learned. I don't think you have to go, yes, she's been a born leader. No, you can pick it up, you can learn it, you can move into it, you can move into that space to make a difference.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, because again, talk about having an impact yourself along your journey, but also I think that might be one of the youngest ages we've gone back to on the podcast, which is, I love that. We surprised some people, some people have surprised themselves sometimes when you look at the foundations of who you are now as a leader, and they do go back all the way to the environments and your behaviors and attitudes that you had at that such a young age. So amazing. And then so impacts on your own journey from external. So have there been any events or people that have had a big impact on your journey? So whether it's be positive or negative, where would we go, and who would you say?
Yeah, I think externally, the people I have never met would be someone like Simon Sinek. The minute I heard his The Power of Why, it just, and everyone gets really annoyed with me because any little quote that he does, I'm not splashing that all over the place because I just think he's got it. What I don't think he's got, and I'll say this out loud and I'll say it to his face when I get to meet him, is that he's missing the next step. He's got all the way up to, we know why we're doing something and we're being leaders and we're being strong leaders and we're being enlightened leaders and we're being empowered leaders, but he's missing the collaboration step. So one day I'll get to tell him that. More locally, I think Daniel Priestley, if anybody's come across Daniel, who runs Dent, and he's called it Dent to make a dent in the world, which fills my heart with joy. I did some work with him on his KPI program. KPI, not for key performance indicators, but a key person of influence. And he's had a huge influence on my life because I see him walking the talk. I love what he's doing with his life and how he leads his life, and how he treats his children. And even when we were going down to Zoom, when we were all in lockdown, he said, okay, we all know now that we've got different circumstances, but we all have colleagues in our lives that might interrupt us while we're at work. He said, whether your colleagues are 4-legged or 2-legged, he said, I'm apologizing in advance if I have to go and talk to my colleagues. And literally about an hour in, one of his children, Daddy, can you come and see my picture? And he's like, excuse me, one of my colleagues to talk to me. And he went off and we could hear this conversation, and there's like, I don't know, 40 people on the call. We could hear this conversation. Oh darling, that's a beautiful picture, but I'm talking at the moment. Can I come and have a look at it properly in a little while? Would that be all right? Okay, Daddy. And he came back and said, I do apologize for my colleague. And all of us were like, oh, our hearts were melting, you know. It's like, that's it, it's being real. And as a real leader and somebody that is walking the talk, you know, I applaud the man. So he's definitely been an influence on my life. But do you know what? Everybody in our community, I do a podcast as well, Being Human, Hidden Depths, and every single person in that community has been interviewed on that podcast, and they've got amazing hidden depths. And whilst I think I know them, I have that conversation. It's like, wow. And I'm inspired. Every single one of them has potential for leadership and is being a leader already. It's just phenomenal.
Fantastic. Do you know, I love the reframing of that, because I've got 4 of my own colleagues downstairs now working on the business. I could be getting them to do all sorts of things, like little logos. It's, as we record this, it's still the summer holidays. So it's one of the challenges I have with some colleagues. I love that. I'm going to use that, I think.
Oh, please. Yeah. But like I say, everybody on the call, nobody was like, oh, for goodness sake, can't he get his nanny to look after them or whatever? Everyone was like, oh, it's so.
And like you said, it's reality, isn't it? And sometimes we have this, without even knowing it, quite a negative reframe on it, as in it's a worry, it's a panic, and but then if everybody's thinking the same, why doesn't somebody reframe it and go, well, it's reality, it's something we all have to deal with. So
yeah,
I love that. So collaboration, the reason why it sort of really spoke to me was, when people are in leadership positions on their leadership journeys, sometimes and a lot of the time they do feel quite alone and quite isolated, and quite lots of different ways you can say this regards to feeling like they have to have all the answers, and speaking up or being coached as a sign of weakness, all those sort of things that you come across. And again, in my world we work with very high performers at the high performance level. It's almost expected and welcomed and needed to have external points of view and different inputs, etc. So tell us a little bit about collaboration and why it's so important for people to be welcoming and looking for collaboration.
Well, I think it's a sign of confidence in yourself when you are open to collaboration. And I'm not talking about the collaboration. It's like, well, if I work with you and you work with me, and then you can have 50%, and I'll have 40%, and we'll get somebody else. It's not about the deal that you're doing. It's about the impact that you are making and what you can learn about yourself and about each other. It's connecting and coming together. But you can't collaborate unless you know who the hell you are. So in leadership, if you've done some work on yourself, you feel more confident and resilient in order to help other people. And if you've got a workforce, or even your clients, to be able to go to them and say, what do you think about this? I've been thinking about this, and having that sounding board. Even your cleaners in the office will know some of what's going on in your company, that you could be able to go to and say, what do you think about that? Is that working for you? If you were to buy this product, you've got people you can talk to. But if you're feeling, I have to have all the right answers, I'm in charge, I'm the one that's supposed to know this stuff, you're going to be shutting yourself down, because there is so much talent to be had in a collaboration. But if you're in a room of a collaboration and people are worried about their jobs, worried about the competition in the room, if I speak up, he might steal my idea, she might take my IP, whatever it is, you're never going to get true collaboration. And true collaboration is putting everything on the floor and saying, right, what's the best bits? What can we take? And being allowed to say, do you know what? I'm just having a really bad day. I'm not going to do this today. Is it all right if I do it tomorrow? This has happened. Or even, oh no, I made a mistake. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did this thing and I didn't mean to, and this happened. And you start again. Because if a collaboration is all about competition and protecting yourself and not sharing and not being who you truly are, your authentic self, you're going to end up, along every collaboration, there's that little weak point where things can happen, and somebody might get cross and somebody might get triggered, throw their toys out the pram. And 9 times out of 10, that collaboration is done, finished, gone. You can't retrieve it. It's over. But if you come from a true collaborative space where you're coming from a basis of love, and you think, wow, somebody's got an temper tantrum, you okay? Rather than, well, you said this and I said that, and retaliation. So if we respond rather than react, we can get the collaboration to the end line. We can learn from the bits broken. We all know friendships where we've had a flaming row and we've either left the friendship and it's over and you kind of miss it, or you've had a flaming row and you've said sorry and you've made it better and the relationship is stronger because of it. Yeah. So collaboration in the grown-up sense is to be able to have those difficult conversations, but you can't really go there unless you learn about yourself, what triggers you, what are your limiting beliefs, what are the things that are going to be your no-go island. I don't want to stretch my comfort zone that far, thank you very much, where we feel uncomfortable, but being able to say that is really powerful. And it's this element of a self-organizing organization where people pop up to be the leader in the area where they are genius. The leader at the top doesn't have to know everything. They've got people for them. But if that leader comes down and becomes part of the people, they can all share on an equal footing, and then magic truly can come out. So that's why for me collaboration is the answer to all of our problems in the world. There is no problem in this world that there isn't already a solution for. And the reason we're not getting there is people aren't coming together to collaborate.
Yeah, and with you saying that as well, I kind of reflected internally then about a lot of the work that we all do as coaches, companies, etc. is everything fits in for me to the category of the basic of communication, internal, external, giving and receiving of feedback. So feedback and communication as an overarching topic show up all the time, and it's exactly what you were just saying then about. So my question came then to obviously people listening to this, knowing that, and it's easy to say and say that's a good thing to do, but what would you say that in your experience of being in this world and helping people, what are the first couple of things that somebody can maybe nudge themselves out of where they are now? That sounds brilliant, I need to do more of that. And it will be simple things, won't it, that people go, why don't I always do that? But what would you say people need to do to start actioning that?
Well, I think whenever you're having a meeting with a new group of people, this probably rarely happens, but tell each other what your values are, what's important to you, and not only important in life, but also important for the group. And a lot of people haven't sat down recently. They might have done it maybe 5 years ago as an exercise when your coach told you asked you what your values, but probably do it once a year and just work out your top 3 values. And there's exercises you can do online. If you want to get in hold of me, I can give you an exercise. You've probably got them as well, where you can kind of hone down from 15 down to 3 values and share those. So when you're going into a collaboration or you're just working with colleagues, they know what's important to you. They know that, oh, Gill hasn't been on a training course for a long time and education is one of her values. And maybe we should see if we can orchestrate that so that she's feeling acknowledged, feeling valued and feeling seen. It's those little things that can go a long way. And then if you're going into a collaboration and those values are shared, that will stop half of the problems down the line because people are aware of it. They can go back to it, they can refer it.
Yeah.
And then also obviously knowing your purpose along the way as well and sharing that.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm conscious that we've got 4 minutes left. These great conversations fly by, and I love it.
Yeah.
But it's the time restriction. But so I want you to tell us a little bit about you're an author. You help other people author their stories. I want to give you a little bit of time to just explain a little bit about the books that you've written, because we spoke about them before we jumped on. I know they're full of useful things for people to go away and action and start to involve themselves in that lifelong learning journey. So tell us a little bit about what you get up to in that world.
Okay. So my books one's a business book called Step Up from Desperation to Inspiration in 12 Simple Steps. It's a business book. It's very simple, but it's one of those things that if you follow the steps, your business will look very different. I love keeping things really clear and easy and short and sweet. I'm not into deep, complicated stuff. The second one is about why you should collaborate. And that's called Making of a Movement. And that's basically my story of how I became passionate about collaboration, but also why it's so valuable in this world. The third one is a book about love, and that is a collaboration in itself. I felt a bit silly. I love writing books. I help people write their books, but I'd never collaborated on a book. So how can you write about collaboration and never collaborate on a book? So I went and did that. It was fantastic. I loved it. I did that with the help of Andrew Priestley, funny enough. And that's a book about love. So if you read my chapter in that, it's all about how I fell in love with my husband. And then the final one is Together We Can Do Something Wonderful, which is the how to collaborate. It tells you the profiles, the 12 profiles that you need, not the personality profiles to collaborate, but the profiles that you adopt for responsibility within a collaboration. There might be 12 profiles, but if there's only 3 of you, oh, surely I can only do 3 profiles. Well, as time goes on throughout the project, you end up doing all of them in one way or another, but they are responsibilities to ensure that the collaboration goes well, as well as talking about values and purpose and what goes wrong. I've been in collaborations that went horribly wrong. We all speak from experience, don't we? So one of the things I love to do, and I will do to the day I die, is help people get the book that's inside of them out into the world. So I help people get to the first draft. And that to get to the first draft, you have to need to know why you're writing the book, what you're passionate about, who you're writing it for, an individual. Because when we read a book, we're reading it as though somebody's written to us. And we're reading it for them. So we find out the individual, We find out where the book's going to take us. We find out how to get it to #1 at Amazon, and we do a plan. And once the plan is done, everything is easy. And you talk about being dyslexic, easily help dyslexic people, because it's getting that plan done, which is lots of little things. And then the rest, it can be done by a ghostwriter. If you've got your plan sorted, they can do it in a blink of an eye if you're that badly dyslexic. So I've helped all sorts of people to write their book, but when they do their book launch and it all goes out there, I was like, oh, it's heaven, absolute heaven, because that book will then help many, many, many more people. And that's the bottom line of what I'm about. How can I help? What can I do? So the other thing, as I say, I'm passionate about is Collaboration Global. So if anybody wants to come along to a session and meet some amazing people and meet some leaders for the future and for now, and be inspired and have a good chat with these people, we meet on the last Tuesday of every month, 3 till 5 UK time. And just find us on Eventbrite, look for Collaboration Global, or go to collaborationglobal.org. That's our website, and you can book straight from there as well.
Fantastic.
So,
yeah, good. All those links are going to be in the show notes as well, so guys can click on and go and check you out. And I was just thinking, as you were saying about the book then, that we've been talking about digital leadership and having that impact on others around you without being in that tell phase, and writing books, being on podcasts, speaking, creating this digital and platform that you can actually go and share your stories. It is a great way in the new world of how do you impact people, how do you inspire people, how you share your story, and writing a book is one of those things. So Gill, thank you so much. We're out of time, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's another one of those episodes that's flown by because it's great content. So thank you so much. So ladies and gents, if you've enjoyed that, make sure you hit follow on the podcast provider. Make sure you follow us and subscribe on the YouTube channel. And every Wednesday at 6 a.m, we have an amazing person coming in and sharing their story and their expertise. So as ever, if you've liked this episode, make sure you comment and tell us what you liked about it. It's great to see everybody's different takeaway. It's different, every single comment that we see. So it's fantastic. So Gill, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Stuart. It's been an absolute joy chatting to you. Not long enough.
I know, yes. Ladies and gents, we'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye.